Good morning and welcome to WKYT's Kentucky Newsmakers. I'm Bill Bryant. Later, we will hear from Tom Shelton of the United Way of the Bluegrass during this important time of the year. But our first guest can talk about two major endeavors she's involved in right now. House Democratic Floor Leader Pamela Stevenson is getting ready for the 60-day legislative session that will begin January 6th, and she's running in that crowded field for the Democratic nomination for the U.S. Senate. The nominee will attempt to win the seat held by Republican Senator Mitch McConnell since 1984. Stevenson has been a statewide candidate before. She was defeated by Russell Coleman for Attorney General. She is a pastor and a former Air Force JAG officer. Colonel Stevenson was the first major Democratic candidate to get in the Senate race, but the announcements have kept coming. We appreciate you coming in, Colonel. We appreciate you having me with us today.
Thank you for having me. I love being here and talking about all the things that matter to Kentuckians.
Well, thank you. Did you anticipate the Senate race becoming this crowded?
I didn't anticipate it becoming this crowded, but it is an opportunity, if you truly love Kentucky, if you truly want Kentuckians to thrive, to do something about it. Now, I've been doing something about it for a long time, so I'm happy to be in the U.S. Senate race.
How will you distinguish yourself in a crowded field like that?
In the crowded field like that, it's already done. I have done the work of a U.S. Senator. There are 9 major jobs that a U.S. Senator does, for example. One is pass bills. As the floor leader, I navigate bills. I reach across the aisle to the other side to come up with compromises. Number 2, investigations. They conduct investigations. I did that as an Air Force attorney, as the leader of the legal office in the Air Force. Number 3, treaties. I have direct experience being deployed to 11 different countries, how the treaties impact our America's sons and daughters. And I know what needs to be done to make sure that America prevails in foreign countries. And then judges and cabinet. I'm a lawyer, 40 years. I know what it is to be a judge, a lawyer, a litigator, area defense counsel. So when we go to those hearings to nominate judges to the bench and the cabinet, I have background in that. And then finally, taking care of Kentucky, my specialty. Every Kentuckian deserves to thrive, and we have the skill sets, if we're brave enough, to lift Kentucky up.
Senator McConnell, as we noted, has been there more than 40 years. With that seniority, he has a lot of power and sway in Washington. An ability to send at times over $100 million to Kentucky, as he recently did to help with some military construction projects here in Kentucky. How does a junior senator go to Washington and try to fill those shoes?
That's the same thing they said when my first year in the legislature. How does a new legislature get bills passed the first year when we've been here many years and not gotten anything passed? I say it's all in relationships, being authentic, talking to people, and making sure that your word is your bond. Do the work, reach across the aisle, stay focused on the issues and not on the politics.
Let's talk some issues. There is polling suggesting that if something doesn't give on the tax credits for Obamacare health coverage, a lot of Americans will have to drop their health insurance. Should Congress extend the credits or reinvent health insurance in some way, as many Republicans want to do?
We have an obligation to every American to make sure that there is a community safety net. As far as I can tell, if you are born into a body, you're going to need health care. It should not be monetized. There's nothing wrong with people making money, but human beings need health care. And if we're going to be who we say we are, liberty and justice for all, if we're going to be every voice matters, then we have to provide it in some way. Now, if you have a plan to provide it, okay. But if you don't mess with what's currently working well for many people.
In other words, if you had to take a vote right now, it would be to extend the credits.
Yeah.
Do you think there is a viable alternative to the ACA or Obamacare at this time?
We've not put the thought into it. If we can put a man on the moon, we can go in a room and figure out how to provide hundreds of Americans with health care. It is our responsibility as leaders to go in a room and not come out until we have a solution that fits most people. And I don't know if we've been willing to do that, because we came up with the Affordable Care Act. If it's not working, what do you have that's going to make sure that the mental and physical health of Kentuckians are taken care of?
President Trump has taken steps to downsize the federal government. He says he is rooting out waste. Do you agree with the overall Republican approach to downsizing the federal government?
Our systems could always use improvement, but you've got to do it, as my grandfather used to say, in decency and order. You don't slash blindly. If you don't understand how the government is interwoven, how it connects, and you cut one thing and it affects another unintentionally, that's a problem. If you could tell me by cutting these things, we'll have this amount of money to do this, I could listen. But if you just go in and start cutting, firing people, bringing them back, firing them again, it doesn't work. It makes our system unsettled. It makes people's lives unsettled. And they get concerned about their livelihood. They get concerned about what's going to happen next. And it doesn't take care of people.
To what extent do you believe that the legislative branch has a responsibility to step in when there is disagreement with what's happening in the executive branch?
Our founding fathers created a system where we have checks and balances, and that each of the judicial branch, the legislative branch, and the executive branch, we're responsible to make sure that nobody oversteps their bounds. When the branches don't take that seriously, or they don't speak up, then we get what we got today: chaos.
That's what you describe the federal scene as right now?
Anytime I have people calling me saying, I was a park ranger and now I'm not, and then they call me back. Anytime we have unintended consequences because we don't understand how it works, but we cut it anyway, and then you have people that are doing without because we didn't understand, I would call that chaos. If you came up with a way to cut and make our services better, I'm all in agreement for that. But that takes thought, and it takes input from the people that are impacted by those agencies.
The Trump administration has also cracked down on immigration. The president says we are safer as a result. What is your stance on that priority? And it's the illegal immigration, but also there have been other avenues of immigration that have been narrowed in terms of people who can enter the country.
Our immigration system was broke. We weren't following the rules. We didn't have the bandwidth to follow the rules. People were waiting years to get hearings and get what they needed to become American citizens. So it needed to be fixed, but not this way. We are not a country where you can just walk down the street and be afraid for your life, be afraid that you're going to be snatched, be afraid that your ID will be taken from you, be afraid that somebody's going to put you on a plane and take you to a country you've never been to before, be afraid because you don't look like them. So yes, let's apply the laws that we have. Let's fix the holes that we have. And let's make sure that America stands true to who we say we are. We are a land of immigrants. We have a Statue of Liberty that says, bring me your poor, your tired, you're hungry, so they may breathe freedom. Fix the problems with the system and do it with due process, do it inside the law, and do it so people have confidence that their rights will be protected when their time comes.
The United States faces a sort of a Social Security cliff in a few years. And there are various discussions, but nothing at this point is moving forward. How committed would you be to addressing that before 2033 or 34, when the Social Security Administration indicates it would not be able to pay full benefits?
Growing older in America should not mean growing poor. And if you work your whole life and you pay into Social Security and your job pays their portion, then when you retire, it should be there. You're either going to pay one way or the other. Those elderly people have to be taken care of. If you wipe out the system, then what? So the smart thing for us to do is be smart and go in a room again and say, how do we fix this? Because we've made some decisions where we're using current money that people put in, so that when the young people get older, that money won't be there.
And in that room, what would you be open to?
I'd be open.
There have been proposals for higher age for retirement, for reduction in benefits, for means testing, all kinds of other proposals.
I think we need to be creative. And I say that because I don't think people should be working until they are 80. At some point, you get to retire because you've worked your whole life, and the rest of your life should be the best of your life. I was at a store the other day, and the lady, the cashier that checked me out, she says, I'm 83 today. I said, today's your birthday? And she said, yes. And I said, you're spending your birthday at work? She said, I have to. That's no way to spend a birthday. I believe we're bold enough, bright enough, and creative enough to resolve the issue, especially when we listen to the young people. They've got ideals. We just don't listen.
Colonel, if you were to be elected to the U.S. Senate, what would you say you're running on? What would be your highest priority?
The first thing is a strong economy. We have to have good paying jobs. $7.25 an hour is the minimum wage. That's $16,000 a year. That's why people have to work 2 jobs. And that's why we need childcare, because they're working 2 jobs. It's all interconnected. Secondly, we've got to take care of basic human needs. If you're born into a human body, you need water to survive. You need food to survive. You need health care to survive. Those basic needs should be met so that people could live their best lives, and whatever they get after that is up to them.
Speaking of working 2 jobs, you are also in the Kentucky legislature, and in fact, you are the minority floor leader. So busy days are just ahead on that. What is your highest priority for the legislative session? Well,
and the highest priority this year is let me say one more thing. The last thing, we've got to protect the people that protect us. The veterans should not come back to this country and not get what they need because of the work we had them do. So the same thing in the Kentucky legislature. This is a budget year, and we've got dwindling resources because we've had some tax cuts. So we've got to find a way to make sure that Kentuckians get what they need with the meager resources we have. And where we put our money defines what we value as important.
Some Republicans want to further lower the income tax in this coming session, although it appears the triggers that the legislature itself set up have not been hit. What stance do you take on that?
Before we cut taxes from day one, we couldn't pay for the things we needed to pay for. Now that we've cut taxes and we've lost revenue, we can't pay for the things that people need. For example, Michelle P. waivers, they're on that list for many, many years to get help. We have a affordable housing situation. We have infrastructure problems. We have some rural areas that don't have clean drinking water. We have rural areas that are going to lose their hospitals, and people will have to drive hours to get health care. We need to be focusing on what do we need to do to provide a community where every Kentuckian can thrive.
We hear AI will be discussed. We hear housing, childcare, all issues likely to get attention. Are those among the key issues you are interested in being engaged in the debate on?
Absolutely. Pre-K for all is important. If you got a family working 2 jobs, then we have to prepare our kids and our students to be to participate in the global economy. And it starts at pre-K. If America's going to continue to be a world leader, we have to train the next generation on how to be a world leader and make sure they have what they need. AI is just like, we have to get ahead of that ball, because it is the next big thing. It's bigger than the internet. The things you can do with AI is phenomenal, and it will either be used for good or be used for bad. We, the state of Kentucky, can lift up Kentucky if we find a way to use it for good.
Pam Stevenson is a candidate for the United States Senate and is the Kentucky Democratic floor leader. Thanks for coming. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
We're going to hear from the United Way of the Bluegrass in just a moment during this important time of the year. Kentucky Newsmakers will be right back. Welcome back to Kentucky Newsmakers. The United Way of the Bluegrass is under new leadership, and this is a crucial time for the organization. The United Way works to connect members of the bluegrass community to resources that are available out there. It supports charities across the region. It also has its own programs, and Tom Shelton is the new executive director of the United Way of the Bluegrass after filling the role on an interim basis for several months. Thanks for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Bill. It's good to be here.
So just in setting this up, we had some interesting conversations in that really the model for United Way has changed over the years, and some of us are behind. So what would you want people to know about today's United Way?
So most people probably remember what we referred to as the community chest model of United Way, and what that basically was United Way served as a fundraiser for other nonprofits and would raise money and then had a granting process or an allocations process where funds were then distributed to other nonprofits. Now that's only about 20% of what we do. We still do that, we still collaborate with other nonprofits, but about 80% of what we do now is direct services.
So what is the most important function you do now?
So there's three primary services that we offer. There's other satellite type programs and opportunities, but there's three primary services. There's what is called 211. You may have heard of that. That's where people can call or text if they have a need. You know how you have 911 for an emergency, you have 811 before you dig. 211 is where people can call and say, I need help finding a place to stay or to live. I need, help with utilities or rent or food, or connection with some type of resource. So 211 is kind of our core service that we provide. Another service that we provide is VITA, or Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, where we provide and prepare tax assistance for low-income families. Mm-hmm. And then the third one that most people probably don't know, which is a very direct service, is called the Waypoint Centers. We have three here in Fayette County, one in Jessamine County, and we're trying to expand that model. These are basically community hubs where people can get direct services from United Way and other nonprofits right in their own communities.
How much does the United Way support other organizations in the region now?
So it has varied over the last several years. It's generally somewhere, give or take, around $1 million a year. It's about 20% again of what we do, where other agencies will write a grant, and we have committees that review those grants and then allocate those funds. What many people might not know is that the United Way of the Bluegrass serves 10 counties, Fayette County and 9 surrounding counties. And so we're providing those grants across our entire service area.
When people do reach out, are they surprised by the change in the direction of United Way in recent years?
I think a lot of people are. I've spent many years myself as a United Way board member in other communities and even here in Fayette County, and wasn't aware of the change. It's kind of recent. It's really a focus that's happening worldwide for United Ways, not just here in the Bluegrass.
But no doubt you still have some very heartwarming stories of people that you reach out and help. Tell
Absolutely.
us about some of those that you've been surprised to hear since you've been on board.
So we have some wonderful programs that kind of supplement our primary services that we do. We have Sweet Dreams Project, which is just recently concluded, where we partner with schools across the Bluegrass region to provide kids with pajamas, snacks, books, and some hygiene items for the holidays. Just knowing we're helping kids, that's near and dear to my heart as a career educator and working with our schools. And we hear so many heartwarming stories of the families and the excitement of the kids as that's happening right now. We've had so many great volunteers and support here within the community for that program. We have another program that's been really excited. It's called Lace Up for Learning, and it's where students at the beginning of the school year get a new pair of tennis shoes. It's very important to kids as they're going back to school, and we partner with Under Armour to see that happen and make that happen for kids. And so I always love seeing us affecting kids, but ultimately, of course, that affects families.
And do you reach people of all ages?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Our primary areas of focus, we like to say, are first of all, we try to meet the basic needs of all families. Then we focus on early childhood, and then on student success, and ultimately on workforce development. So we do work with all ages.
Do you find that people with means to help in this region are surprised by the immense needs that are out there?
Absolutely. When I was a school superintendent, I think people didn't understand the impact and the high levels of poverty that we see here in the Bluegrass region and across our state. When we look at families that are already living in poverty or just one paycheck away from being in poverty, the numbers just continue to grow as costs continue to get higher and higher. Housing is more difficult to come by, and just food and basic needs. And I know when I was with the school system, we had more than 50% of our students who were living in poverty or near poverty, and that number just continues to grow.
And that's in Fayette County.
Yes.
And I think that's a surprise to people out there.
Absolutely. When you look at poverty, it is the single biggest barrier to just about everything, to certainly to being successful, but it's a barrier to education. And so, it's something that we all can focus on. We can all make an impact. People can volunteer, people can give, but first of all, we always want people to know that they can call or text 211, and help is just that close, where we'll try to make sure that they get what they need, especially here in this difficult holiday season.
You staff those lines
24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah. Why is it important to remember the United Way at this time of year?
Well, the holidays are, just a wonderful time of year for many of us, but they're very difficult times for others. Of course, the weather changes. People have a lot of things that have happened to them over time. There's, as I was indicating, there's higher costs right now. There's job loss. Of course, we've recently gone through a government shutdown that's affected many people. And so, right here at the holidays is a wonderful time to reach out and try to help someone else, because our whole focus is trying to move people from survival to thriving.
If people want to help you, can they designate their gifts or pledges to an area that they want to be helpful?
Yes, you can go straight to our website. It's United Way of the Bluegrass, uwbg.org, and they can give directly online, and they can designate to a particular county, to a particular agency, or to a particular program.
You had wanted to retire and did, and then you came back. Are you glad to have opened this chapter now at the United Way?
Absolutely. I was raised to always be involved and engaged in community service and support of others, and trying to make sure that other people had, as best opportunities and the best resources that they could have. And So I got to do that many years as an educator, and I really kind of missed it. And so this is an opportunity where it's a little different, but it's also very similar to my career as an educator, where we get, an opportunity to see all ages impacted and lives improved across our bluegrass area.
Just a few seconds left here. What would you have people know? Do you want your message at the holidays to people regarding United Way?
So United Way, most people may not know, has been here. United Way of the Bluegrass has been here over 100 years, meeting needs of the people in this region, and we continue to focus on that. We are strong. We're a great organization with wonderful people, with great partners. We have great support from our board and our community. But ultimately, it's going to take all of us to working together to meet the needs of everyone, so we can improve lives for everyone here in the Bluegrass.
Appreciate you coming by. Thank you.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Merry
Bill.
Christmas and happy holidays to you.
Yes.
Everybody stay with us. We will wrap up Kentucky Newsmakers in a moment. We do appreciate you being with us. One of our guests next week's schedule will be Mike Manget. We'll be talking about tourism here in Kentucky, which is important at all times of the year and is a major industry and employer in the Commonwealth. That's Kentucky Newsmakers for this week. Thank you so much for joining us, and you make it a good week ahead.